Welcome. Hi, everyone. This is the Backstage community session for April 2025. Hi, my name is Vincenzo. I work on Backstage. And yeah, if you're attending this session for the first time, this is the place where we share updates about Backstage or where adopters can share their experience with Backstage. If you have anything interesting you would like to share, we encourage you to drop a message under the GitHub issue open for the next community session. Right now it's closed, but it will be open. After this session, I'm going to drop the link in the chat if I found, here it is. Yeah, so share, drop a message in the issue if you want to demo or show us anything. So agenda for today. We have a couple of demos for today, but first we'll start with release highlights. We released Backstage 138 yesterday night, and after that we'll have Patrik, which will share some updates regarding the new Frontend System. We have shared this at KubeCon, but it's good to have to share it with the community today as well. And after Patrik, we'll have Juan Pablo from SAS sharing how they review their tech radar. And as usual, at the end, we will have a Q&A session where you are free to share or to ask us any question. Cool. All right, let's start with the release highlight. So I will pass it to Freben.
Yeah, hi. So just a quick run through of the top items. There's more, of course, as usually. You can read the release notes on the microsite, backstage.io. But some callouts here to make is the removal of React imports. It's actually about preparing for React 19 and beyond, and them using the new JSX transforms that come, packaged a little bit differently than they used to in the past. The outcome of this is that as you upgrade to the new version of Backstage, if you opt in with a change in your TS config, you will start seeing warning that you no longer have to import React from React, right, in your front-end builds. Because it used to be that had to be present to get JSX working. But it's a nice thing that has been done now to prepare us for the next versions of React that we will upgrade the whole project to later. The second one, GitHub integration changes. It sounds very dramatic, but it's mainly about how when you create things with the scaffolder, the default branch has changed to become main instead of master. You can still opt into the old master naming of branches, of course, but just beware that the default has changed. The backstage CLI repo start is a new command. The end user impact of that is that you now no longer have this mixture of yarn dev and yarn start and yarn start backend and so on. It's all just yarn start, essentially. So whether you're starting an individual little plugin and it's dev endpoint, or you're starting just the backend, starting the front end and backend concurrently and so on, it's all just yarn start. There's more information about this in the release notes. Hopefully it will simplify things for you. Another new addition is the gateway plugin by our own Vincenzo here. It used to be that when you make split deployments of your backends and you split apart different plugins and different deployments and you start scaling them, you start to have to worry about how will your front end also reach all of those backends, right? And it used to be that you were usually putting some form of ingress in front of it, and that ingress had to know where to route things depending on what you were asking for and so on. That now became drastically simpler by the gateway plugin. You just install on one of your hosts, basically, and it makes sure to receive all traffic, whether it's destined for itself or not, and just forward to where it should be going if it wasn't meant for itself. This lets you put a single entry point into your backend ecosystem, and stuff just flows out of that. It's very nice. Canon, our design system, had a new release, 0.3. Lots of changes, lots of new components added, lots of tweaks and so on. It's still early days, as the version number indicates, But still, if you're curious, check out canon.backstage.io. It now has a releases section that details everything that changes and so on. You can check it out. There is some work towards module federation support for the front end. This is in the form of an addition of a front-end feature loader that dynamically loads front-end features based on the new front-end system. And you expose those features as module federation remotes. This is super cool. Still like a very recent addition, but with a lot of promising potential. Bitbucket server now has catalog event support. That means that it can listen for webhook events and instantly update itself. That gives it more of a push-based rather than pull-based model, you might say. It still pulls, but on command instead of repetitively. You might want to also check out our maintainer track talk that we had at KubeCon, where we discussed how we, with a very large catalog at Spotify, are getting sub-second response times to code changes and very, very little load on our installation to get some inspiration why this is useful. The standard discovery that you get installed in your backends, the thing that ensures that backends can find where other backends are located, essentially, like where is their API exposed. That thing now has SRV record support. This is something we use heavily internally, where deployments get SRV records consistently, updated in real time for where the pods are located. This lets you do some pretty cool things, like, for example, establishing standards. Like if you establish a naming standard internally for SRV records called backstage-plugin-foo or something, then you can magically make things auto-discovered with discovery. Just if they just abide by that naming pattern, you can do stuff like that. And finally, the ability to send Slack notifications from the event system. So never again miss an urgent notification. You just send it to Slack in the way that suits you. All right, that was a lot of talking for these bullet points. Back to you, Vincenzo.
Cool, thank you. A lot of good progress here. All right, is there any question? I see a question from Benjamin. Say asking when Canon will be released into Backstage. The answer was soon, but can we have a better
estimate? I can elaborate a little bit.
Yeah.
No, and I think the question is also when will the components first start showing up? We're looking to kind of at least test migrate the complete plugin to Canon to make sure it works well. Remains to be seen whether we release that or not. But we're still working through kind of the required components. Because not all components are there yet to be able to kind of migrate. Even a simple plugin, we don't have the page headers and so on. So there's a few things to add still before we can try it out in full.
Nice. Any other question regarding any of this, like release highlights? I know that some of them might be like a bit obscure by just reading like one line, one sentence. But feel free to ask any question, like unmute yourself or like drop a message in the chat. Cool. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, if you have questions later, feel free to read the release notes and yeah, come back to us on Discord or open an issue on GitHub if you have anything that is like you're struggling with. All right. Moving on then to new Frontend System demo. Patrik, that's on you.
Right. I will want to be able to share my screen.
Yeah. Should I? You should be able to.
There we go. Yep. And hopefully you can see Backstage app to the left, bit of configuration to the right. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, good. So this is a sneak peek of the demo we did in our KubeCon presentation, or a repetition, depending on whether you've seen it or not. Just want to show it again here. Generate a bit of excitement around the new Frontend system. I think it's pretty cool what you can do with it. What we're showing here is the new changes to the entity pages that shipped in the previous and the release before. So we now have a different layout. We've introduced a couple of different card types. And in particular, there's kind of highlighted cards to the right here that are sticky. So as I scroll down the entity page, the most important information still stays available. And then you have these kind of content cards that are a bit larger, long form content that don't fully deserve a separate tab, but you want to stick them further down on the entity page. We do have these cards as well. This is a new summary area. We call it, maybe I can sneak peek what it does. Yeah, you see there's a bit of horizontal scrolling going on there. All right, now let's show some of the configuration that you can now do. One of the pieces we added was tab grouping. So you can see here we have just 4 separate tabs. But let's say I want to group tech docs and APIs into the same group. Then I can go into the configuration for those 2 extensions that I have prepared here, API docs and tech docs, and assign them both to the documentation group. And the catalog plugin, it ships with a couple of predefined groups, but you can define whatever groups you want yourself and what you want the labels to be and so on. But yeah, now we can see that we have overview and a documentation tab. The Kubernetes is pushed to the back because this is a kind of loose piece of content. The groups get priority. Yeah, so you can kind of reconfigure. We've made the entity pages a lot more configurable just straight from configuration now, the way they are laid out. Last thing I want to show is this element inspector that kind of shows the power of the new front-end system, and it uses a new extension middleware that we added that lets you kind of inject logic into every single extension in the app. So this lets you go through and see all of the extensions that are available on the page. So I can see here that this card is the catalog graph relations card. I can click on this, get more information, see, okay, it's enable, of course, where it's attached, some of its configuration, what plugin it's from. And of course, we can surface more and more information here as there's more things to highlight. You can also see where it's being declared. So yeah, bringing this to open source. This is still just in the demo. We haven't merged the PR that adds this functionality yet, but it's all on the way. And that's it.
Nice. Any question regarding new front-end system? I have one. Like, let's say I'm an adopter who is not using the new front-end system, and I would like to really use the new front-end system for catalog. What do you recommend me? Should I wait, or is there any way for me to jump into this?
There is. We do have the migration guide. It's a bleeding edge thing. I don't know if I would defer to the maintainer track talk for information on that. Let me
yeah, there is a lot there.
Let me send the links to that. But the TLDR is that we added the migration path that we're kind of supplying is that you switch out the root of that to run in the new front-end system, and then you can bring over all of the content. We now also added support for converting entity pages to the new front-end system so that you can gradually migrate entity pages. So now it's kind of more possible and easier to try out the new front-end system in your own applications if you want to see what it looks like beyond the bleeding edge.
Nice. There are some questions, like the first one is from Peter asking, like, is the YAML config stuff optional or is it more mandatory? Like, can you just do things as you do today, or you need to like jump into this, or jumping into this in the future would be kind of mandatory?
You know what? Let me share my screen again. Like so, because I think there's an example in the demo repo here that I can show of just kind of how you can make smaller changes through code as well. So we do have this system of overriding. You don't have to use configuration for all the customization if you prefer to just implement it in code instead. When it comes to whether you need to have use configuration in general, it's mostly for third-party plugins that you install in your app. Because the other one you will just build with the kind of the parameters that you want to have from the get-go. So, for example, you can reconfigure which group card is or entity content is assigned to, but you can also in the implementation say what group it's supposed to be a part of. So if you have an internal plugin, you'd probably do it that way rather than doing it through configuration.
Cool.
And
There was also,
yeah, it might, and the philosophy, I guess, is that it should be fairly similar similar to the backend system in the sense that you should be able to add plugins, just add and add and add the things you like, and their behavior should out of the box be sensible, right? You can configure, but the idea is that you shouldn't have to write massive amounts of config just to get going with things. It's only if you don't like their defaults. So it should ideally your app should be just a bunch of things that you just added, and it all flows automatically from there.
there is another question from Benjamin asking, what about like private plugins? Like, do I need to migrate private plugins into the new front-end system or not? I guess Patrik partially answered to this. Like,
long term, yes. We are taking a migration strategy internally at Spotify, where we of course like migrate things gradually. Have a lot of we have moved over to the new front-end system in our app, but of course almost all plugins are still using the old system, so that we can do it gradually. Switching plugins to the new front-end system is if they are very extensible, it's kind of tricky. So the catalog, for example, has been a fair amount of work for us to get all of the kind of extensibility that's available in the catalog implemented in the new system. But if it's simple plugins that kind of just provide a page and some entity content, they tend to be very simple. We will see what we'll be able to do when it comes to kind of code mods or maybe prompts to help that. But the plugin code itself doesn't change that much. It's mostly just the wiring of kind of how the page gets lifted over into the app.
last question from Peter. Do you recommend start looking into doing some migration now?
I recommend trying it out and seeing, does it work? I don't recommend shipping it to production just yet. But just switching your plugin to the new front-end system can be like 15 minutes of work. There's a utility that helps convert the old app options as well. I'm about to find a link to the migration guide here and paste it in the chat.
That's good. That's good. All right. Thank you so much. Link is in the chat. All right. If there is any question, like feel free to drop in the chat and we will go through later. I will say thank you, Patrik. Now let's jump into next topic, which is Tech Radar as SaaS. Juan Pablo.
Yes, Juan Pablo
Nice.
and Alejandro, we are here from SaaS.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Totally missed to mention him.
Yeah, no worries. Let me try to share.
Feel free to share the screen if you...
Yeah. Oh, no, I cannot share.
Do you need to restart your computer? No, hopefully not.
No, I need to allow Zoom to... I need to quick and reopen, sorry.
That's fine. That should be pretty quick MacBook things, as Peter is mentioning. But anyway, the migration guide is in the chat. Let's see if I can open it. Oops. What I'm doing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know, some weird stuff open by the computer. So I was like hearing out advertising. Juan Pablo, is he here? No.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
feel free to take your screen.
Yeah, I will try again. Hopefully now.
Here it is.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you. So like we wanted to show is a small thing that we did on SAS to improve how we work with the tech radar. So let's start the presentation and you can start, Alex.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm wearing the cap now. I think you got me some time. So yeah, I can start. My name is Alejandro Kisberg, just in case. I think it was not there, but anyway. Work at SAS, Scandinavian Airlines. We are part of the digital and IT department, and we are in a developer team, really quite related with the developer experience. So yeah, we have been experimenting with the backstage for some time. Gradually, we were adopting more and more tools from that, from more of that, the catalogs and documentation. Initially, we started with only documentation, and yeah, then we moved. We added some templates for infrastructure mostly, and then eventually this came, the tech radar. So yeah, I mean, this is some points that we took that we could, that the idea behind the tech radar to adopt at SAS. So yeah, initially we want to reduce the technology fragmentation. When I joined, it should be like a bit more than 2 years. We tended to see many technologies in the organization. So it was like the new teams already kind of knew what they were doing, that there was a list, but it was there was also many projects that were behind, and they were migrating to the new infrastructure, and eventually we ended up like with a mess of technologies, and this was quite fit for what we're looking for. Then yeah, we were working in some sort of no. Yes. I mean, not everyone.
We can cover it later. Sorry. Go on.
Thanks for the question, Vincenzo. Right. Yeah, if you are in the office, probably. So yes. Then we kind of could you go to the previous? Yeah,
sorry.
I didn't cover that. Yeah. So the teams we kind of need a way to standardize the onboarding for new teams. So that was also another topic. So bringing all the ideas to different teams, some of them were quite robust, but some of them were so new. So bringing them to the idea of what we're going to use for new technologies was a problem. So we ended up like kind of discussing what to do with that. And again, this comes as a nice solution, and yeah, and then finally discussing what having a central point, what to choose, and what if you want to propose a new technology, if you want to, I don't know, go for GitHub. We had many migrations in the process, so we had to choose which tool to use, and this was a way to have a decision record for each case on each tool, and yeah, defining yeah, the source of what we call it the paved road, right, for that. So yeah, Juan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can show you briefly. This is how we used to work initially with the tech radar. So in the first image, you see this is taken from Miro. So we used to have yeah, we used to have meetings. Okay, but when we used to agree, okay, all the tech leads that are interested, we're gonna have this meeting in 1 day or 2. I mean, initially we didn't know how long it would take, and we started voting like in this style, and yeah, and eventually this took like 15 sessions, and it was actually more than 1 hour. Yes, each session it took a long time. So I mean, again, it was the first time that it was SAS used this idea, tech radar idea. But yeah, those came as some I'll call it challenges we initially had when you need to kind of agree with everyone what to use. So
yeah, and just to add, like after all the discussions, adding the information to the tech radar was painful because I was looking on the dots on the mirror board and translated that to the actual JSON. So that was painful. So I can take over maybe and show what we did now. Oh no. Okay. So the other thing was also like people was stop attending meetings, so we were losing people opinions in there. So we wanted to have a more async discussions and track more people opinions. So we decided to go with GitHub Discussions. On GitHub Discussion, what we did is we have a poll for each item on the tech radar. So if we enter on any of these, we have a way to vote, and you can vote. This is open like forever, and you can vote here and add your comments. What we ask people is like, if you are voting something different to the current status, please add your comments on why you think that it should change. But yeah, like this allow more people to participate even if they cannot attend the meetings, and it give like we rely on discussions. That is something that many people know how to do it, and yeah. So what happened is now we still have the meetings. Like after having all this, we still have the meetings, and we on the meetings we review the topics, we review the discussions that we have here, and we take a final decision. This is for like, okay, like gathering all the information, but it's much quicker. Like now we have all the votes in place. We have a lot of discussion in place. So we kind of remove a lot of time that was like agreeing on a meeting to get on the same place. And the other thing that we did was automating, because after having the decision what to do, we needed to go to the tech radar JSON and put the changes, the movement, and all of that. So what we have now, we split it, the JSON file in different parts. To have the rings and the quadrant are things that we don't change much, so we have it split it. And we only have one file that is the entries, and we only fill here the current state. So every time that we make a change after a meeting, we decided to make any changes. We change here all the new rings for each thing, and we create a pull request. When that gets merged, there is some scripts that use the tech radar validations to see that everything goes well and all of that. And we generate one file that is what the tech radar is expecting. So we calculate, depending on the last version, we calculate what is the movement, what is the ring. We also add a link. I will show later. We also add a link pointing to the discussion. So if someone is looking on the tech radar and has a different opinion to Shira, they can go here and they will go directly to the discussion in place. Yes. And also, if we update any descriptions here or anything like that, the discussion itself, it will be updated. So we have all these links and the description, all of that is edited by the same workflow once it gets merged. So yeah, I think I'm not missing anything to demo. Let me go back to this. Yeah, basically this one, the two things that we wanted to accomplished with this to make easier to reflect the changes and also to have more people into the discussion having opinions. Next, what we are exploring is we are using LLM. We are trying to use LLM after some changes to create a summary of what changes, some kind of like thought work news saying like what changes on the tech radar. So we are trying to show the LLM what are the latest changes and generate all the documentation. We would like to automate the new discussions creation. Like when a new technology is added, we suddenly need to create manually the pool because GitHub doesn't have an API for pool creation. So please, GitHub, do it. We also want to add tags or topics to the items in the front to be able in the front end to filter out in a different way. We realize that many people they go to the tech radar and they're saying like I'm looking something for logs or for observability and maybe if you don't have the right keywords, it's hard to find out. So we want to add some way of filtering out the tech radar to show you like, okay, what tools to use and what not. And also we will like, after having this creation, we would like to add some kind of in the UI, in the Backstage UI, to add the proposed new technology thing to add to the discussion and all of that. But yeah, I don't know, Alex, I'm missing anything? I think that's all.
Yeah, it is pretty much.
Amazing. I have one question. So how often do you update the radar? Is it like every year or half a year?
Yeah, I mean, it's ideal is every year, once a year. But the idea behind this is that you do it, anytime, and you bring the discussion, bring up the topic, the new technology, and then it's easier just to merge and yeah. Once we agree, you don't care much about the technical part, and then it's just go and updates the decisions.
Cool. And Peter is asking, like, how often do you review the tech radar entries? Like, I guess probably review means like.
Yeah, once a year. I mean, the entire list, right?
Yeah, okay. Okay, once a year. And do you find people check it before building something?
We have everything. We have some people like actually looking for what to build. We also have a lot of confusion on people saying like after making some decisions like why you remove this, like we are using it in production and some getting the understanding like this is not a mandatory thing to follow. It's more like an advice of what we want to follow and what we think this is better at. But yeah, also having this type of discussion allow us to when someone reads like randomly saying like why we cannot use this or what this is in whole, we can tell them to go to the discussion and write their stuff there. So in the next revision that what we do, we can have that in consideration and have the discussion there.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how do you encourage that culture? That's the last question from Peter.
Like I think we are finding how to encourage. It is for some people is easier than others. Like, but yeah, like I think with this we are able to make more changes, and we are also able to split the reviews in different topics, because maybe for review different topics you want to have different people on the meetings. So that generates noise, and the noise feedback to people to contribute and have opinions on that. So yeah, like I think making noise about it and about the movement and things like that is a good thing to let people know.
Cool, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this. This was very valuable. It's so nice to see what the others are doing. So thank you. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Cool. I will say then let's move on to Q&A then. So if there is any question, feel free to use the chat. We're here to discuss anything you like. Yeah, I will pause for a second. No questions so far. All right. Oh, here it is. So how will Canon play with current custom themes? That's an interesting one. Who's gonna take this? Patrik?
One of the goals with Canon is to make it a lot easier to theme. It has kind of two levels of theming. One is we're leaning into CSS variables as the base. So it has a set of CSS variables that allow you to customize similar things that you would do with a palette or generally the movie theme. It does also have a way to do component overrides, which is we're still exploring, but right now the approach is actually to do it just with CSS classes and being able to override globally CSS classes. So we're looking at doing static CSS class names for Canon, but not for any of the styling within plugins themselves. For custom themes, we'll see if we provide any form of converter from the movie theme to Canon, but otherwise it is making a theme that looks similar to current custom themes, and of course we'll provide themes that match the default ones as well to make it easier to move over if you don't have a custom theme. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Looking forward to see Canon. More Canon question. For Canon, we will be waiting for a stable release of base UI before pushing it to backstage plugins.
Most likely
From
not.
Gabriel.
We're taking an approach with Canon similar to a lot of the other kind of APIs that we want to be able to evolve in Backstage. So if you're on an older version of Canon, and like you can run plugins on mixed versions of Canon in an app is the intent. So we will probably make it, encourage use of it before base UI goes stable. But let's see how that all lines up in practice.
Nice. Thank you for the question, Gabriel. All right. I don't see other questions. So yeah, if you have anything in mind, reach out to us. We are on Discord, we are on GitHub. Feel free to open an issue or drop a message there. Thank you so much for today. I think we can wrap up the session now. And yeah, see you the next community session in May. Thank you so much.